The Flash Season 4, Episode 3, Luck Be a Lady. This episode, I'd say, was pretty decent. I don't think anything really spectacular happened with it, but I was actually interested in the way they kind of did the luck versus bad luck of all the characters. I actually like how it played out. Some of the stuff was goofy, really only the beginning. After that, it was actually like super serious. I thought it was going to be that way because that's kind of how they did the promo. I don't know why they're doing that, but they did that with this episode and the last one where they make it seem like it's one thing and then it's not really about that. Like before this one, last week's episode where the suit like malfunctions, that was like one tiny part of the episode. They made it seem like that was like the whole point. It was like, oh man, the suit's malfunctioning. It's going to be like a crazy, deal that he has to go through. It was like, that was like the last couple minutes where he like got to the main villain and that was it. And in this, it was like the first time he met her, and that was the only time it really happened. And there was some bad luck at the end, but that was a lot more serious. Although it was funny, it was hilarious even at the end when he slipped on some quarters and just went in he just spun, and it's like, how did that even happen? Like I feel like he didn't even actually fall to the ground. He basically just spun, and then it was just like, and he was in the handcuffs, and I was like, that's actually hilarious. So I love that one. Slipping on marbles from this random, like a barrel of marbles is ridiculous. And for some reason, the barrel had like the ghost, what was it, Inky? I think it's Inky. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Inky is the red one. Inky from Pac-Man was on that barrel. I thought that was cool because I'm like, oh, that's Pac-Man. So that caught my attention instantly. But I thought that was pretty funny in the beginning, but it was really cool. Like, we do get an explanation for how these new metas have shown up. I love that. I was like, that's actually simple. They didn't keep us waiting 100 million years because that's kind of a part of this show. And I'm glad that didn't, at least not yet. It hasn't happened. And so far, there's no like giant mystery outside of why. Like, why does the Thinker want to do this with the Flash? Like, is it just he's a villain? Why does he care about the Flash? Where did he come from? Because I do have to wonder. I don't know the origins of the Thinker, but most characters, like in this show, they typically follow their origin. So I don't know if he's from the future or not, or if he's just using current day technology. But he was like he was playing like hologram chess, and he picked up one of the pieces. It didn't just move. It was like he picked it up and placed it on another part of the board. I was like, okay, so, excuse me, a lot of the technology they have seems fairly normal, but then there's other stuff where I'm like, that looks, like it's things that remind me of whenever they go into like the Eobard Thawne room where they like look at the newspaper from the future. It looks like that, where it's like hologram stuff showing up. It's like they have like holograms of camera footage and stuff, and I'm like, so is he from the future? Is he not? He seems like he easily could be, like he's all like in this crazy chair. I never said this, I keep like forgetting to mention it, but or maybe I did, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but every time he talks, he makes me think of the Master Control program from Tron. Like just the guy's voice, it's not as deep as in that movie, but every time the guy talks, I'm like, that makes me think of Tron because it just reminds me of the Master Control program, which oddly works. He's like it's a program in the movie Tron, so it's like an AI that's a computer, it's a super genius, so it kind of fits that. That's what that reminds me of with this character. But that's really the big question here, is like, why does he want to do this stuff? Why did he send out, the samurai? Why does he want to have the Flash come back? Like, what does he expect to get from the Flash? So there are a lot of questions there, but I was super happy that in this episode it was very simple. We see this woman, 3 weeks ago, and he's, kind of following her and stuff like that, and it's like, alright, she'll be easy to manipulate, and I was like, okay, so he gives them the powers. That's what I thought. And it turned out that was not the case. He kind of set things in motion to kind of herd these people, and it was, the 12 people. And so he herds them all there together, and it's like, okay, this is what I want, but we still don't know why. And I'm starting to wonder at this point if he cares about the Flash, because of course he didn't want Wally, but Wally's a speedster. And it's like, alright, well, maybe he wants Barry because he was like, I don't have enough confidence, even though he's growing as a hero. There's no way that I can trust my plan to this kid, because they even say it in the first episode. It was like, I think 1 out of every 3 metahumans that they went after during like that 6-month time gap, they would miss out on. So it's like, of course you don't want to have Wally as like your main speedster variable. You want them to work on getting Barry back, and it's like, boom, bring Barry back. He knows that they're going to round these people up. He knows that somehow this will work. Like, that's the real big question. How did he know that bus was going to be where Barry came out at. And maybe he knew, what Cisco was working on, and maybe he's the reason the calculations didn't work, because that was like a big deal in this episode with Harry coming back. It was like, you gave me the calculations and they were wrong. And he was like, I told you to check with me and all that. And I'm like, I didn't think about it during the episode, but it would make a lot of sense that he found some way to spy on them before. Like, we see that he's spying on them now because he has the samurai. They put the head, like, just in the room, so he's able to still control it. But it wouldn't surprise me if he knew that Cisco was working on that through some other insane, super evil genius, sort of means. It wouldn't surprise me if he was the one that messed with those calculations. So I feel like we might find that out in the future. And, who knows? Like, maybe he just intercepted, like, it's probably super simple. Like, he just intercepted some stuff where it's like, oh, these are the genius characters. They assume everything's secure. And then we have the thinker who's like, okay, I'll just pluck that out, and then they will have no idea that I switched something up. And he changed the calculations to make it so that that's where Barry showed up. So I feel like that, that's not even a stretch. Like, I came up with that because, like, he's a super genius. All they're doing is just, hacking stuff, basically. It's like hacking for him is probably nothing, especially if he is from the future. That would be nothing. It makes perfect sense why he'd be able to hack something between, someone like Cisco and Felicity and Curtis. And then they, out of three of them, none of them would be able to figure it out. It just makes sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is our explanation kind of later on in the season. Like, that's why Barry showed up there. And, of course, he manipulated things left and right to have these people kind of all get on this bus kind of at the same time. And it was interesting. It was like, all right, so we have the people kind of all together. And it does make me wonder what happened, when they, like, first got their powers. Like, was it instantaneous? Was it, like, a little bit of time after? Because, of course, the guy from the last episode, he was like, I'm not the only one. So he knew, it was like, all right, all those people have powers. But, it was like, it just makes me wonder, like, did they just, poof, they all kind of scattered right after that? And just a lot of different questions. It made me wonder, like, what exactly is, going on? So I'm very curious how all this is supposed to play out. They even talk about how, in the last episode, they caught the guy earlier than the thinker and his assistant were expecting. And it's just like, he was kind of like, no big deal. But, it kind of ends with him like, I'm thinking. So it's like, no big deal or anything like that. It's just like, we kind of keep going, just like at the end of the premiere. It's like, I'm thinking, like, what do we do next? And then it goes into last week's episode. It's like, all right, they caught him. It's like, all right, well, we just get the other one. So it's like, it's almost like that is the plan, and that's all there is to it. So whatever he's got set up, he's just waiting for these other people to be captured. But it's just like, why? Because he already had them rounded up, but maybe the variable was like too wide open. Like, I'm trying to think mathematically about it. It's like, okay, well, if they're all imprisoned in the same area, they can't escape. Every cell is based off of their powers to keep them locked up there. It's like, okay, you could technically, if you find your way in there, you could get in, and then they're all trapped. They can't do anything to fight back against you, I guess, maybe taking their powers. But it's like, considering he's that genius of a character, I don't think that would even be a thing where it's like, oh, they're on a bus, they could jump out of the window of the bus or anything like that. Like, that's not going to be an issue for a character of that level of intelligence. But at the same time, we've only seen him work with one person, but they also have crazy samurai robot droids. So there are a lot of different ways he could have taken those people's powers if that was the whole point. So once again, that is the big mystery here. But it was a pretty good episode. Like I said, the villain herself, simple. It was kind of silly a little bit at the very beginning and end. Other than that, it was people. Oh, what was super effing hilarious was when she went into that bank and they show all the stuff going wrong or what might go wrong. Or no, it wasn't the bank. It was when Barry confronted her. And he's looking around and it's like, oh man, the pressure is building on the coffee machine. Like, this woman who's walking on the second floor, she can like spill the coffee and it drops on someone, it'll burn them and they'll move, kind of the chain reaction. The funniest thing was him looking up, and he goes up and then he turns around towards the main door, and this dude has a nail gun, and it's like, oh, it froze, and he looked down and just turned the nail gun straight into his face, and I laughed. I was with my girlfriend, and it made me laugh so hard because I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That's like when people point guns at themselves, like, oh, it's jammed, huh? And like, that's literally what he was doing with the nail gun, and I was like, that is hilarious, because no one would do that. Like, no one in their right mind would be like, oh, it's jammed. Like, it's a nail gun. It can shoot through. Like, at that distance, that could have, like, it would have shot through him, and like, it probably would have been sticking out the back of his head. And I was like, that is the funniest thing ever. Like, it was just so dumb. They just were like, yeah, just look at the nail gun. It was so freaking funny. Like, one thing, like, oh, it's jammed. That's all we needed to see, but it jammed, and he looked at it, and I was like, they should have told him not to do that, because it made me laugh so freaking hard. But I had to mention that, because it just made me laugh so bad. And it was like, okay, that was, that I actually really loved that scene where she was talking with Barry, but that was just so funny in the beginning, because everything was like, oh, the pressure's building up, she's up top with the coffee, he's got the nail gun, and it was simple. It was like, oh, I instantly understood. Oh, the nail gun's jammed, and he's gonna like put it down or something, and then it'll just go off or whatever. I got it. It was like, it was 2 seconds. Nail gun's jammed. It'll go off at random. Not him looking into the gun. He deserved to die. Almost like, you don't look into the barrel of a gun, even if it shoots nails. It can shoot Tic Tacs. You don't look into the barrel of a gun. But it just made me laugh so much. But that really was a great scene where Barry was trying to, talk her down. Like, hey, bad things happen when, basically, if you succeed, it's because bad things happen around you. It's not like, oh, it just works and everything's good. It's like people are having disasters and near-death experiences. Like the guy choking when she went into the bank, and he chokes and he knocks the ladder down, and the dude is spinning the camera that he's working on so they can't get any footage of her. And then a dude knocks coffee over, it starts blowing up like all the computer systems, and the woman just happened to be on her phone. And so she walked out because her mom was doing something wrong. And it was like, okay, she doesn't care. And Barry was about to touch her hand. He was like, oh, do you really want to test your luck with everything that could happen? Like, bad things happen to people that get in my way. And I love that scene where, she's leaving, and it's like, there's nothing you can really do to stop me. And he looks, and like the woman kind of stumbles, and a drop, of hot coffee like falls down, and the people back up from the coffee maker, and then this woman comes in with her baby, and the dude just happens to be pointing the gun like straight down at the carriage. Everything they did with him was just like, it's just funny to me. But it was like, he couldn't do anything. Like, if he got up, it would have kind of set things off, because she would have been like, all right, time to activate my good luck, rather than, I'm just getting out of here. So it was actually a cool moment. It was almost like really tense, where it was like he couldn't move, where it was like, if she activates her power, people are going to die in here, and that's just how it's going to play out. So I really love that scene. But the way they kind of went through all the issues, I thought was pretty cool. We had a little side story in this episode with Harry, of course, coming back from Earth 2, so that was really cool. We finally got him back. Wally's broken up with. Jesse apparently is just dropping dead weight left and right. It was like, yeah, okay, you're gone. Here's a breakout box. He's gone. I don't need him. I don't need you. Be gone with you to another dimension. So Jesse's just dropping dead weight and gave Wally a breakout box. Also a hilarious scene where Wally was like kind of freaking out. I was like, don't you have basically like photographic memory? And he was like, yes, no, I did, but I don't. I do not. But then of course Harry goes through the whole thing, and they get to the part where apparently he watched it. And she says, Jessie said that Wally was her first, and everyone, like, they were blurry, but you could see everyone in the background kind of like turned or looked in a different way. I was like, ooh, that's not something that a father should really need to deal with. But that was a funny moment for sure. But she dropped dead weight like crazy. It was like, bye-bye Wally, bye-bye father. Like, the whole team kicked him out. I don't know if we'll get any Earth 2 special teams or anything like that. So I was very curious. I was like, what exactly does that mean for what's going to be happening on Earth 2. But they probably won't touch on that too much, especially because it may or may not involve other speedsters. I kind of doubt it, but either way, I'm sure they're saving that for, either way late in this season or not even for this season. Just like, we'll get some characters later and, do that next year. But I thought that was cool. I was like, okay, she's got her own team now, and they have metahuman power. So I was like, all right, that's cool. Just for future reference, we might see some other metahumans from Earth 2. So I'm excited for that whenever they decide to get to it. But of course, Harry's trying to basically find his place, on the team again. And I knew something was wrong, because he was freaking out. Like, even though he was like the mean character, it's kind of like in the last season when he was mad at HR, even though that had like, it was really dumb in that episode because there was literally nothing that actually happened. In this one, it was actually a thing where it's like his daughter basically kicked him off his entire planet. And he was like, I don't really have anywhere to go, which is nuts. Like, I would have thought he could just go somewhere else on Earth too. It's an Earth. But he was freaking out with Cisco like the whole episode. I was like, I know there's actually something wrong this episode. And of course we find out at the end, what happened with them. And naturally, that's how we get Harry back. So that's super cool. Glad we didn't really have to wait for that. And I like this version of Harry. I liked HR. He was super funny. Him and the coffee and, the drumsticks. But I like this version of Harry because I kind of like him as a dick because he's super funny. Like he says some stuff that's just so mean sometimes, but it's really funny. So glad to have him back. Wally, of course, goes away. They just like, I don't know. It was I think I mentioned this in the last episode. They might as well not have given him any powers. Honestly, it was just like he was there for a season with officially with powers. He was there for one full season, and then that's really it. And it's just like he either has to look really dumb because Barry has to be the hero because he's the main character. So either Wally ends up looking stupid because they can't have both speedsters actually working in tandem because they would solve every problem in literally the blink of an eye, or he just goes and it's like, and there you go, there you have it. That's the ultimate way to deal with it, where the enemies cannot be surrounded or completely defeated by two speedsters. You just have Wally disappear. Like once he's actually capable and Barry is there, because before it was like, okay, he's learning his power, so it makes sense that they could both still do it and it wouldn't work every single time. It was like, I totally get that. That makes perfect sense. It's very logical. And now he's had those 6 months of experience. He's a good Flash. He's not as good as Barry just because he's not as fast as Barry. At least not now. I don't know if that was a permanent thing, what they did in the premiere with him coming back, or how that's going to play out. But, it's like, sure, he doesn't have all the capabilities and skills of Barry, but he's capable enough. So they would be solving all their problems all the freaking time. And he totally made a great point about it, too, where he was like, all this crap was happening and nobody noticed I was missing. And the funniest thing was like, I didn't notice he was missing. I was like, oh yeah, he wasn't there at all. And like when they showed him in the background, when he's like, yeah, you guys did it, I was like, what was he doing the whole time? Which admittedly isn't that crazy because they've done that before, where characters will be there and they will actually be there and then they don't do anything. And it's like, why didn't they just have this person help? So admittedly, I thought it was just an error in the writing because they've kind of done that before, and a lot of shows do that in general, where people just are there in the background and they don't actually get any sort of screen time and nothing to actually do. But it was like, no, I was actually gone. I was on Earth too, and all this stuff happened, and no one even realized I wasn't actually there. And I was like, that is hilarious. And then of course he's like, I gotta go on my own journey, and I gotta leave National City. I'm sure he made some reference in the comics. It was something I wasn't familiar with. Blue Valley. I don't know where that is or what hero or anything like that might actually be in that area. So I don't know. I don't think Wally's going to be in the Titan show that comes out, which I believe is supposed to be next year. I don't think Wally's going to be in that, but if he is, it makes total sense because the original, like old school comic Teen Titans, Kid Flash is actually a part of that. It's not like the newer version that most people are familiar with from Cartoon Network. But I don't know if that's what they're going to be doing with him in the future. I would love that just because it's like, all right, well, boom, one speedster in the main show, one speedster in this other show as a part of the team. It just works, and they'll have to find some way to make it where he doesn't look stupid, and that's why he fails. It just doesn't work. The villains are just more powerful, and that's why. So I hope that that's how that plays out if he is going to be on the Titan show. I haven't looked into that, so I don't know, but he ends up leaving, and it's just like, yep, that's their way to do it. There cannot be two speedsters. Of course there can't be three speedsters, like when Jesse and Wally had their powers. Somebody had to go. It's like either Barry's gone, Wally's gone, or Jesse's gone. Somebody has to be gone for some reason because they cannot have three hero speedsters. That is not allowed. So, just a million issues with that. Like, it's just something that's always bugged me, where it's like they always make it one of the characters looks dumb. Typically, it has to be Wally, because obviously, like I said, Barry's the main character. So, it's just one of those things where it's like, why not just make the villain super tough for whatever reason? Or, kind of like with this villain, which is kind of what I was hoping, was that he would be doing stuff that's so beyond what they were expecting, that it would take Barry and Wally to solve issues, even if they weren't actually dealing with the Thinker. It would just be something he set in motion, and it would take Barry and Wally to deal with it. That's what I was hoping for, like, pretty much the whole season. I was like, I can't wait, because he's going to be so genius, it'll take the whole team just to figure it out. Cisco won't have time to go out in superhero mode, because he'll need, like, all of his capacity to work on, the science side and the genius side of things alongside Caitlin. And it kind of just went back to, what it normally was, where it was like, only one person can be really great, and it's got to be Barry. So get the F out of here, Wally, and, we'll see him when we see him. And, of course, Harry's back as well, so, it's another element. He was the one who figured it out, like, move and counter move, stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. But I'm excited for where we're headed. That was just another little thing. Was like, they already made him look dumb, especially with him leaving in this episode. It was like, they should have totally let Wally be the hero in the last one if they were going to make him leave this time. With him just getting knocked out just standing there when Barry's like, run, and he's basically got the Iron Man repulsors hitting him, and Wally's just standing there like, huh? And he gets knocked out for the entire fight. They totally should have made it when Wally won, because he's gone now. But I'm sure we'll see him later. Sometime in the season, some other villain will show up, something will happen. They'll have to call Wally and get in touch with him. Also, probably the funniest ending they've ever done. Joe finds out that, oh, I can't even remember her name. I want to say Candace, but I don't think that's right. That's not right. But he finds out that she's pregnant. His girlfriend is pregnant, and the way they ended it, where he froze, and it was just like, he was legitimately frozen, was the best thing ever. And she's like, she even waves, and he's just like he was a little, and then it ends. I was like, that's amazing. I love that for sure. So hilarious way to end the episode. Just random little funny things here and there, but ultimately pretty cool. Like the villain, she was kind of like a nonchalant sort of villain, but it was cool the way it looked, where she just got her good luck, and it was just disaster around it. The dude in the plane, which is also fun. There was actually a lot of funny stuff in this that I think was unintentional, like when the plane ends up working, and the guy's like, the starboard engines are working, and the dude looked at him and was just like, yeah, or he was just like, good. I'm like, you should be more enthusiastic, like you just lived again. So my girlfriend pointed out, normal planes can't maneuver like that, which they totally can't, because they were like falling, and it was just like right off the water. I was like, yeah, that was way too easy for them to just kind of auto correct that one. So that was kind of funny too, unintentionally. But there's a lot of little funny stuff. I look back on the episode, but decent. I really didn't expect this to be this long. I was like, nothing happened in this episode. I didn't expect to be talking this much about it, but had to complain about the Wally thing. The funny moments were actually really funny, and I did like the coffee, the jitters scene, just because it was like, I would have loved more scenes like that, where they tried to convince her, but they couldn't, and they couldn't get near her, otherwise she would activate her power. So I would have loved more scenes like that, and maybe we'll get that when they do like a crazy jailbreak and all these people, get out or something. But decent. Looking forward to getting some more answers, of course. We'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And I'm pretty sure I asked this again already, in the premiere, but I would love to know your theories now on what in the world the Thinker has planned. We know that all these people were kind of herded to this bus because he probably did recalculate things for Barry to come out there and give them powers. We'd love to know your theories on why and what his ultimate goal is. And of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.